Fantasy football playoffs. Everything you need to know. Week 14.
Let's dive into it.
All right. Fantasy football playoffs, dude. What are you thinking? Biggest tip for me when I've won a few ships in my day. I'll say never be afraid to play that backup. Never be able to be afraid to play that bench player. Like, you want to stick with your studs for sure. Like, but those fringe guys who are even the slightest bit matchup proof, and if you can get that crazy game flow that the Nikhil Westbrook keeps finding, or just some lower tier players and crazier game scripts, don't be afraid to pivot and adjust. That's one of my biggest tips.
Who was that backup player no one knew that you played last year that got no points and screwed you, but the process was somewhat correct?
Parker. I played the problem was I played Parker Washington and
no,
Chase
that's not who
Brown.
I'm talking about.
What?
I thought it was Chase Brown.
Yeah, and Chase Brown. I played Chase, but the week prior he had like 10 carries, and I mean, look at him now. He's clearly he was talented. I watched him. He was a beast last year. They just didn't run in that game. They just really leaned on Mixon, which was frustrating.
Yeah, well, they still had Mixon at the time, and now Zach Moss is down, so he's just getting such a big workload, and he's basically game script proofed. But I mean, you're way ahead of the ball on that one. It just kind of proves that point. So
it goes all the way back to like year one. Me Simmons, he played Charkandrick West, and then year two, I pivot. Who did I play against Guider that I never let him live down?
Matt Asiata.
He put up a 20 piece in a game. We were still in standard, and I think I scored 88 points that week. Matt Asiata had 25, almost like 20% of my points that week.
Yeah, no, you have to be willing to make moves like that. The one I'll never live down, though, is everyone's like, stick with your studs. And I played King in the semifinals one year, which is, I guess, the round before the championship. And I was between Emmanuel Sanders, who hadn't done much that year, but he was probably my fourth or fifth round pick as a wide receiver, too, on the Broncos that year. Peyton was his quarterback. It was the year they went to the Super Bowl. But Peyton got hurt, and it was Brock Lobster or whatever his name was, Brock Osweiler. So he was the quarterback. It was supposed to be like a snow game in Denver. So there's that concern with the quarterback. There's the concern with the weather. And then I picked up some backup Seahawks running back, Dwayne Brown, or I can't remember his name. But he was the starter that week. Whoever the starter was for the Seahawks at the time was hurt. I don't remember if it was Marshawn or... Who's the guy after Marshawn that was like a third round pick every year? It wasn't Eddie Lacy, but
Thomas Rawls. Yeah,
it was either him or the other guy that was hurt, and he was the starter that week. And
Christine Michael was like another guy who kind of got some run.
Yeah, I think it was like Dwayne Brown. His last name was Brown or something. And he was just a nobody, but he was supposed to get the bulk of the carries that week. So I was like, I went with him as my flex over Emmanuel Sanders, and Emmanuel had 26 points and Dwayne Brown had 4. And obviously that was the difference between me beating whoever I was playing that week, who wasn't King. And then I would have, I think, put up 150 in the championship against King the first year he won. So it's like sometimes those decisions can kill you, but the process wasn't the worst because the Seahawks ran the ball so much. And you just figure this guy's going to get 20 carries. And you're just worried about, Emmanuel Sanders, the weather, backup quarterback who hasn't been consistent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We get the weather this time of year. Like, I mean, if you faded Bills pass catchers, that was a good idea. If you faded Niners pass catchers, that was a good idea. Right? The RBs really ate. Josh got lucky. He had that crazy play, and he ran one in too. Yeah, I mean, it hurt me too. I played Chase. If I had played Javonte over Chase Brown, I would have beat Chompy, and I would have been in the championship last year. But
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It's just like I don't know. I if Javonte did poop, like I mean, Javonte had like 10 carries or like 12 touches and like 8 yards that game, but he scored a touchdown. And Chase Brown just had like 4 points, and I only lost by a slim margin. You know, it was a good game, but
That's pretty much
like
what
the
Javonte did on Monday night. He scored a
Mhm.
touchdown, but didn't do much else.
Yeah, I mean, he had like one good game against the Saints this year in a really, really long time. He's been a nobody. You know, that's a team that could use a running back. I mean, they've got some kind of weapons out on the edge. They could mix in a decent run game. They'd be a force with Knicks.
Seriously, they brought in a workhorse. I mean, who's on the market going into next season?
Dude, I mean, they're gonna be drafted middle of the pack, so I doubt but you could see them getting like Gianti, you know, Ashton, the Boise State guy would be sick. But I also see Peyton like trying to find that like Kamara guy again. You know, like although Jaleel McLaughlin was like supposed to be that Kamara guy, he's just like so small. It's just like it's not working. You need to be a little bit more balanced of an RB. You know, those guys can get away with it at the wide receiver position being tiny, but RB, he's falling all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So who as far as stashes go, just assume you're in a 10-team league and there's some guys out there sitting out there, maybe some backup running backs, maybe some third string receivers, some rookies. Who do you like as, you know, guys down the line? They got good schedules. I'm talking, you know, maybe not the deepest of leagues, but some leagues where there's some gems still sitting out on the waiver wire.
I mean, I think you start first with the guys who are most banged up right now, right? You're not trying to prey on like, I don't know. I guess most guys are banged up, but I think 2 guys come to my mind. It's Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs as 2 guys who are like kind of been banged up right now. And Jacobs plays through a ton, but Breece could seriously sit this week. He came out early. I'd love to get your thoughts on Isaiah Davis. I almost picked him up just to like have him because it doesn't seem like Braylon got all that much run. They like basically played the same snaps, and if Davis is the pass catcher, you probably want a little more of the Davis shares, and they ran him on the goal line. They're not that scared to run him in short yardage. So, you know, I think Braylon got a lot of praise early, but he's also like not looked that great either at times. You know, he looks big and slow and clunky. So.
Yeah, I think my best advice as a Jets fan is just stay away. I mean, there's definitely some potential. I was actually talking to Eric a little bit, and I think just going forward, it might be the move to never draft a Jets or Giants player ever again. And it does hit sometimes.
Dude,
like sure,
MetLife swallows those dudes low key.
Yeah, it's a terrible place to play. The fans are unloyal. They'll like turn on you and like a snap of a finger. They'll boo you. Like I don't know.
The season goes sideways quicker in New York than any other place.
Right. If the Packers are 5-8 or something, or even have 3 wins, they're fighting till the end. It's just, it's a bad bet. And going into the fantasy football playoffs, I don't know if I want to lay any of my eggs in that basket. Like, I'm not saying sit Malik Neighbors, but I'm not going to chase
Wandale and
Darius
Slayton.
We're the third string running back for the Jets. Like, it's such a dart throw.
I feel you. It's my only argument I'll say to that is like now that the Jets are out of playoff contention, the Giants are out of playoff contention. There's a bit of like freeness that comes to those teams sometimes that, you know, it was like, oh, we're trying so hard to like stay in the playoff hunt. It's like, okay, like we're out of it. The weight's off the shoulders a tad. all we can do is just like go out and play football now. And sometimes that works okay for the offense and games get crazy. But the defenses is where you see they quit, right? The defensive side of the ball quits a lot, which makes the high scoring games. So those teams can get in crazy game flows. But
no, you're right.
That's my only argument, because I'm with you. Like, I mean, they just shipped Daniel Jones out in a week, and Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito are horrendous. And Brian Daboll and that whole team is horrendous right now. You know what I mean? Like, you took Daniel Jones off, and it should have looked like a little bit better if he was like truly the problem, right? It was like, oh, like we're running the ball strong now, and the defense is turning it back to us, and we're controlling possession of the clock, and like Tommy's making that nice play action throw, and he's throwing it 15 times a game. That's it. But that's all we need, because like we're like back to being a good team. But it's like that didn't happen. It's like Daboll's still calling stupid plays, and the team's still on a stupid run, and they're not good.
No, you're so right, because last year when I lost to Max in the semifinals, everyone wrote the Jets off at that point. The Jets had nothing to play for, and that's when Brees went absolutely nuclear.
Exactly. It's really who reminded me of it. The Jets last year, and like Dak started playing a little better. Like the screen game came to life late, I think.
You know how many times Brees Hall has been chalk in daily fantasy
Mm-hmm.
salary cap DFS this year? And he's hit a few times, but there's been a lot of weeks where he was heavy chalk and he just completely failed. It wouldn't surprise me now that everyone's off the Jets that he'll just go nuclear in this game against the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good point, is even though teams are out of the playoffs, might not have a good sentiment in the market from like the fan standpoint, it doesn't mean they forget how to play football. It doesn't mean they're not playing 60 minutes. It doesn't mean they're not talented superstars. So yeah, I think that's like important to remember.
Like I have a lot of guys on, it's just from my team's perspective. We've talked about this all the time. Like we want guys who are just on good teams, right? Good teams, good QBs. Generally good things happen and things are efficient. But like watching, the Titans like kind of blow up from week to week now that like Levis is chucking it, and the Browns and the Falcons and teams that can like the Seahawks, the teams that can like chuck it now, the game is okay. It's hard to know who that is. Like we thought the Eagles were going to kind of chuck it this year because Kellen Moore, but they've done the complete opposite. They never throw the ball. There's just like no volume in that offense for those pass games. It's so brutal. So brutal. Did you see my tweet about AJ Brown? I call him the cardio king.
No, I didn't. But I think everyone's so high on Saquon this week. I think the Eagles passing game could be a nice leverage play. I know that's a whole nother topic, but
they're just like so committed to him and like getting 2,000 yards. And like at this point, it's like their whole storyline from a team that like he's everything. If we're going to see anything in the playoffs, it's Saquon putting up 4 touchdowns like Ty Gurley did for me in the championship. That's the Saquon we're getting. I don't think we're getting the bum Saquon down the stretch. That's such a hard prediction with the way what the Eagles are doing. Because how long have we been predicting Saquon's downfall? Probably like 4 weeks now.
Yeah, but is there no point in the season where they're like, all right, we have to save this guy for the playoffs?
I agree. I've been thinking that like versus the Ravens, I was like, how can this not be a smash AJ Brown spot? But they get it. The defense is good. They keep them like close. They like don't really need to like take risks on the offensive side of the ball, and they don't let Jalen Hurts take risks. And one pick then they're down 14 points. Now your game's different, right? Like that just hasn't happened in so long for them. It's brutal. Like just one time, get down 14-0 in the first quarter, and let's see what the Eagles do.
What if Bryce Young just comes out, throws 2 deep bombs to Adam Thielen?
Can can you ignore Coker's coming back this week? Can you ignore the Panthers pass catchers? Like,
I dropped him. You want him?
yeah, I mean Thielen's kind of playing that role, but
Well, I had to because he was in my IR and I couldn't make any moves with him sitting there.
And you have Leggett, so it's just like you can't be. if you play Xavier Leggett and Jalen Coker in the same lineup in the fantasy playoff, might be the most egregious thing I've ever seen.
Just pick up Bryce and do a double stack.
In a semifinal, how crazy!
I mean, it might be viable if they play the Buccaneers again. I think they do.
They look good. They're throwing it 40 times too. I mean, what did he throw? Pull up his stats last game. You know, like I can't ignore Mac Jones and the Jaguars now. Trevor's on IR. They're going to be down 21 points at halftime every game. Like, is Parker Washington just going to be a garbage time king? Like, right? That's how we have to think about these terrible teams and terrible players. Are we getting garbage time kings or are we getting garbage? Who did the Jags play? Titans. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing for my flex. I'm probably gonna.
These are Bryce Young stats.
Yeah, what did he do last week against the 26 for 46, 300 and a tutty? Well, not terrible. That's probably better than Baker. That's probably better than Baker.
He had a rushing title too.
Wow. He is kind of sneaky quick.
Yeah, I mean, how long is it going to take before people start having the debate that he should have gone number one over CJ, where everyone said the Panthers made a massive, massive mistake? And I know it's only been a couple weeks, but CJ hasn't looked great this year.
Mm-hmm. Their OC has been not very helpful, and their offense and the Texans line has been way worse than I think a lot of people thought. But I agree, CJ hasn't played great, but I think there's like they're just pounding Mixon all the time, you know? It's every week Mixon's 20, 25 points. I'm still extremely bullish on CJ. Maybe not so much from like a fantasy perspective, but from like a team game perspective, I personally Mahomes, Allen. You know, I'm not a huge Lamar guy. So I would personally borderline take CJ Stroud still over like Lamar.
As a Commanders fan, would you trade Jaden right now straight up for CJ?
That's close.
I don't think I would.
I don't have enough data on Jaden. I need to see. I feel like I need to see a little more from Jaden before I can make the call.
He's completely turned your franchise around.
Mm-hmm.
Literally the only reason you guys are winning.
Yeah.
Name one other reason.
Daniel Snyder's not the owner.
I just mean like, God, give that team.
No, like if you took him off our team, we're 2-9. We're 2-9. Like
if Aiden O'Connell was starting for you guys the whole year, you probably don't win a single game.
Yeah, we're the worst team in the league, 100%. Our defensive roster is horrendous besides our line, and our wide receiver group is one of the worst in the league. Our RBs are nothing special.
See if he's rushing more now with the ribs healthy. Teetle.
Yeah.
23 long, 12 long. 30 attempts in a game where they were just smoking them is pretty good still.
Yeah. Dude, they don't let off the gas. They play him through the third quarter. And he didn't want to come off the field. You know, he wants the rookie of the year. Like, it starts to, you know, one thing that I like about Allen is that like the MVP discussion is like on him. Like, you know, another good game from Allen. It's like, all right, like it's time to let Allen ball out here and go for the MVP. Same with Saquon, right? Same for Jaden and Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton. You kind of like when the season, your season has been on a roll. Jaden Reed, another good example. You've had like a good roll to your season. It's like now you could see those types of guys like really take off in the fantasy playoffs. That's what you need to win the fantasy playoffs. Is those guys have been really good for you. Just like boom, they just like really crush it, and you just make those one or two roster spot moves right. You know, sometimes we guess wrong, sometimes we guess right, and we win it. Right. And that's kind of what you want, right? You want to play for that high upside, you know, play. And if it works out, you're going to win the week. And if it doesn't, then you lose. That's the name of the game. But at least you're going down swinging rather than like, I'm going to leave that mid dude in a bad matchup in the snow. And, the broken play, he housed it. But like, his volume that day was like Emmanuel Sanders' volume that day was like 3 catches, right? You're something stupid. And it's just like, stick to your process, do your research, stick to your gut, and don't be afraid to be bold.
Yeah, absolutely. You going to play Will Levis over Josh Allen this week, though?
Mm-hmm.
Go for that true ceiling?
I don't know. I could see the Rams putting up some points on the Bills. In LA, Josh's new girlfriend, Haley, she's in a movie.
That's why Pook's the cover boy. It should be a good matchup.
Pook's. Do we naked Allen bring back Pook's Cup, Kyron?
Where is Pook's? Oh.
God. It's been a shame we didn't get him all year. He's been a stud.
Would you rather have him than AJ Brown right now?
Yeah, for sure. Not even close. I think about it all the time because that was like the pick right there. But I got
no one wanted to touch him.
What?
No one wanted to touch him in the first round.
No, he was sketchy to me. His variance was still was really high, but I mean, to be fair, it was him and Kyron were negatively viewed up there pretty hard.
Damn, these numbers are crazy.
Bro, his targets are absurd. Oh, New England has literally given up every single wide receiver that plays against me just 1 million points. I start AD Mitchell in that game. Fucking made me so mad. Made me so mad. It's like I've been getting killed, and like Tua had like 40 points at QB on my bench that one week, and I was like, oh, I probably should have like considered Tua versus the Patriots. And I was like, okay, like Colts matchup, Patriots, like I'm like smashing it this time, and it just shoved down my throat. It was so annoying. But I should have known when Pierce was active. I should have kind of came off of that play, but
AD Mitchell was DFS chalk.
Yeah. He felt like a good play, didn't you know?
Hey, I drafted him. I thought he was a great pick.
He's had a really good separation score this year, and there's been a few weeks he's gotten like 7 or 8 targets. So like, I don't know. Shane Steichen kind of makes me mad. I don't really like messing around with Colts. Like if you drafted Jonathan Taylor, you're not happy. I don't care what you say. 800 yards, whatever. Like what was he have 3 touchdowns? Like in 0.5. That's crazy. It's actually crazy to me. But his passing work is pretty bad. Right. I think that's where he's trying to hurt you.
Yeah, I'm surprised he has that many touchdowns, honestly, and that many yards.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't expecting that. This is a good question. Who would you rather have, Bucky or Jonathan Taylor?
It's actually a really good question. I was just looking at the basketball team that had Bucky, and it was looking sexy. I put up like 197 points with this one team this past week. Yeah, Bucky's been like so good, but his matchups have been really good recently. I don't know. I hope he can sustain it.
Dude, he's got Vegas this week. Bucky's schedule down the stretch is like the best. Like I honestly, Mike, I've like loved my team. If I do get in, I feel like all those dudes have really good schedules. Even the Giants, they got like Saints here. I forget who else is on their schedule, but I know that's
Why is Bucky questionable?
He got like a hit. Yeah, see, he's non-participant, but he said he's going to be okay. We'll see. But I mean, his last few weeks, he's just been stunned.
He's averaging like 4.5 targets a game, or 4.5 receptions. Yards just consistently going up.
Yards per
just
carry
consistently going up.
Like, look at his catches per touch. So you're talking 6 yards per carry the last 3 weeks, and 12 catches for another 111 yards on 12 catches, almost 10 yards a catch, just a little bit under. I mean, that's a first down every time he catches the ball. In perspective, right? Like, it does not get better than that from a running back at all.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
If we were drafting for next year tomorrow and we had to make our picks not knowing what's going to happen.
Any coaching changes or like free agent signings.
Injuries or like who knows? Like, what round does Bucky go right now? 3 or 4?
Yeah, what do you? I feel 3 is a tad high, but like 4 feels right, like right where Rashad went this year. Because if you probably expect Rashad to be gone or take less of a role. I mean, I like Bucky next year, right? Like, the Bucs have proven. I'll say this: the OC for the Bucs is awesome. I love watching the Bucs play. His play calling's great. He sticks to things that work. He calls plays for his studs, right? Chris Godwin, fantasy winner for like a good portion. Mike Evans, stud all year. He's been healthy. Rashad's hung in there, really, for what he's faced. And Bucky's been rookie of the year for the RBs. So, Cade Otton has had his run. Like, that's a high-powered offense, really.
Yeah. And they should win that division if the Falcons keep slipping.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that too. You got them fighting for something, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. That's one that I'll say. That's one thing I like about Bucky. And like him continuing to play hard is like they need him if they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So what else? What other tips do you have for the fantasy football playoffs as we wrap up here?
Just look ahead. Like you're saying, stash the RBs. Let's pull up a waiver wire. Let's look at some just quick RBs.
Yeah, we could look at one in my. Those leagues aren't going to be good examples because the one on Sleeper. If I can go to Sleeper, because my Sleeper league is 12 team, full PPR, $200.
I like Sleeper. That'd be fun if we like move platforms off ESPN.
It's got its pros and cons. It's got a nice interface, but it's kind of bullshit. And like I can't just pick someone up right now on waivers. I have to make a claim every night. There's no IR.
And it has to clear.
Yeah, it has to clear.
Huh. Yeah, go to RBs. Or you can even go flex if you want.
Tank Bigsby, Kenneth Gainwell. You had him for a bit.
Yeah, for like a week. Because it was the Jets revenge game. Remember? Cook was hurt.
I think he's interesting.
But sweet Ray Baby Davis like went off that game. He had that like bomb. Remember he made that sick bomb catch?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Right.
cool game. And Lazard caught the Hail Mary and absolutely effed me. But
Yeah. He's coming back this week too. See some names
no,
out here that look interesting are like
yeah.
Patrick
I mean,
Taylor.
Khalil Herbert is still a decent stash. Yeah, people are picking Cineris up in our league. Um, I like Jalen Wright still. Like if Achan goes down, like Wright could like truly eat, but Mostert's kind of there, which is annoying. The Jets, I mean, Braylon Allen's probably my favorite. Then Corum's up there, it seems.
Simmons dropped Corum.
Yeah, he's a good stash for sure. I don't hate Tank Biggs. I don't hate the Tanks Bigsby stash, but he doesn't really catch passes. No.
Remember when he was relevant?
Oh my god. Dude, Kareem was a sick pickup.
Mir Abdullah has actually been helping me through bye weeks.
No, dude, you started him. You got a touchdown out of him, didn't you? Like
He got me 15 points that week when Bijan was on a bye.
Yeah, dude, like that's so elite. Like,
where is it?
I mean, that's what I was hoping when I played.
Look at his past 3 weeks.
You know, like he got 10 points in that game. I started Zamir got me 4. Just crazy.
Past 3 weeks, pretty beast. 10, 17.
He's 7. A good pass catcher, so he's like kind of matchup proof. And like if he was gonna get 10 carries, like he was like a great play.
Yeah, that came in clutch. Let's look at some receivers. Yeah, I want nothing to do with Wandale. He was decent with Danny Dimes. He was getting targets, but now it's just too sketchy.
I mean, I think Sterling Shepard and Jalen McMillan. I love go to the Bucks. McMillan's down at the bottom. Like who's their schedule? Vegas, Chargers, Dallas, Panthers again in the championship. Like cannot ask for a better schedule.
Yeah, let's hope Bucky can get there for you, boy.
And then look at the Giants isn't bad either. I know we were like kind of crapping on them, but New Orleans, Baltimore, Atlanta, Indy, not bad. Baltimore, you worry about them just like destroying them. but
this is the squad. Do? I mean, I got Neighbors as much as I rag on him.
Mm-hmm. He's been a great pick, you know. Like it's especially full PPR.
Look at this sneaky.
Yeah,
played him last week, and I look at this matchup. I probably can't see the last week's. Oh well, but yeah, we'll just wrap it up on tight ends. Juwan Johnson, I think, is interesting. I picked him up in our league. He's questionable with a foot, but Taysom's gone. I know their role is different, but that's just a few extra targets. He can legitimately be their best pass catcher at this point. He got 7 targets this past week. So I just thought he was an interesting ad.
Nah, he's produced. He's produced when called upon.
Noah Gray's been going off lately.
They're annoying. They just rotate those guys. Like, I know he has been looking better, but
I mean, if just take away his face, like I can't cover it with my hand. But take away his face, and let's just say this was Kyle Pitts, and you look at his stat log. Are you like super disappointed? You're probably actually happier than if you actually had Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. No, 100%.
It's just the name value. Everyone hates Noah Gray because he's historically been a Travis Kelce vulture. But if he was getting this production anywhere else,
he just had that backup role. But what's his snap count? Can you know that site? Go to
Fantasy Life.
I just do. There's a good snap count. The whole website is just like legit their snap counts. Yeah.
I have it somewhere on here. I forget.
Here, I'll show you. This is
Can you control the screen?
Yeah, I just shared. You might have to unshare. Who were we looking for? What snap count?
We were looking for
The
Noah
Chiefs.
Gray.
Yeah. So, like, here's our wide receivers. Where these 59, Hop is 59, Juju's 56. You know, Gray's on the field just as much as those guys. So, yeah, I mean, but he's probably a little bit, you got a little more run heavy than maybe these guys, but not even so. Like, and that's consistent. He's been 60 really, really strong here, actually. You know,
Kelsey might be the wide receiver 1, and Noah Gray might be the wide receiver 2.
It's certainly possible.
Oops. Yeah, he's interesting. And then Jatavian Sanders is questionable. He was out last week.
I've looked at him a few times. Then with Bryce coming, Thielen just like throws the wrench in there that like is annoying. He feels like Thielen's just gonna like consume a lot, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean he's the top 10 receiver when healthy.
Of the trusted targets outside of Chuba and Thielen. And Leggett gets a nice little bit. Leggett gets a nice few, like 5 plays at least, right? 5 targets. If he pops, maybe 7, maybe 8.
Yeah. Yeah, Thielen was Bryce Young's favorite receiver all last year, and like some of his best games were with Thielen. So I think Thielen's a nice add if he's still on your waiver wires. He's probably not there anymore, though.
Yeah.
And then any other tight ends down here that appeal to you? Calcaterra, if
we tried him,
can't play.
We saw it. We tried to play him when he was out. He had that like one game, and then he's done nothing. I mean, he's in the discussion. But
it's more of a DFS flyer.
Agreed. I would try not to play him in season long.
Watch him get 2 touchdowns this week. Calcaterra with another touchdown.
So I'd be so annoyed.
I might have to play Devonta Smith this week.
Depends. Because I hate the Eagles, but
yeah, I guess one last thing we can wrap up on is quarterback. Caleb's out there in some leagues still. He's been playing better of late. Head coach is gone. Eberflus. He had 26, 26, 16 the last 3 weeks since Waldron got fired. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, would you trust Caleb Williams in the fantasy football playoffs?
I mean, look at the Thomas Bryant move or whatever, Thomas Brown move, 27, 26. He's running a lot. He's throwing a lot. So, yeah, I like Caleb a lot going down the stretch. They're going to let that man ball.
Yeah, look at this offense, geez.
Yeah, I mean, and then they have the weapons to do so as long as he gets the blocking and he continues to make good decisions. But I think with Eberflus out, like the team could be like kind of revived. They seem to be throwing a lot. He's got DJ, he's got Keenan, he's got Rome, he's got Komet.
I mean, shit, they almost just beat the Lions on the road.
They're at San Francisco, who's beat up. That'd be an interesting game, actually.
I think he's an interesting add. Russell Wilson's been playing awesome. He had a couple of shaky weeks there, but you know, when balled last week, 6 points against the Ravens at home is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
His floor might not be high enough to justify playing in the playoffs.
Yeah. Steelers are hard to trust. They just don't care, you know, like they're not going to be the Falcons. They're just going to go out there, sling it 40 times. London's going to get his 8 for 90 or 7 for 70, and Bijan's going to get his, and like whatever happens in the game is like it's like who wins and loses doesn't really matter. Like This offense is just like stick to their game plans and try to put up the most points. Whatever happens. But Mike Tomlin will legitimately just grind you into the ground and run Najee, Jalen Warren 45 times if he has to. Right.
Right. And I don't know if you saw, but these 3 games, or sorry, not these 3 games, but the Philly, Baltimore, Kansas City 3-game stretch are within a 10-day window.
Wow.
They have to play these 3 games within 10 days. So I actually took a Super Bowl bet on the Ravens today at plus 1,000 because I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Steelers have to play this 3-game stretch in 10 days and the Baltimore Ravens just like, I think they just have to win 1 of 3.
Yeah, they've got to have a decent sized lead, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers are in first place right now, but I'm almost positive the Ravens are still going to win the division with how the Steelers' schedule plays out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the Ravens are a great bet. If there's any time for them to pull it off,
Yeah, now is the time to bet them and not when the playoffs start and they're plus 600. It's got to be when like the market sentiment's at its all-time low.
Yeah.
So if you want to tail that with me, I think it's sneaky.
Yeah, I like that. I might throw 100 on that actually. Feels like Lamar's like, who cares MVP, but like he's got to win a Super Bowl,
Yeah, and they got the coaching staff for it. They've got
they've got a Super Bowl winning coach. They've got the defense is okay. I know the defense gets crap, but they've been trending back.
Yeah, they've been all right. Jameis. Other than that, yes, Jameis. I will say Kirk Cousins has been getting a bad rap. He does have the highest score for a quarterback on the entire season at any given week. Because my league does that I'm commissioner for does a prop pool, and there's things like QB went off, wide receiver went off, running back went off, and right now it's Jamar Chase is leading for the wide receivers with like 49 points. Kirk Cousins had that week against Tampa Bay where he threw for like 500 yards, 509. It says it right here, and he's been like downtrending, and people are calling for Penix. But they had a bye, so that takes away a week. They played Denver on the road, New Orleans on the road. I know New Orleans hasn't been like amazing, but also the Chargers have been good on defense this year. So I just feel like better days ahead. They play the Raiders, they play the Giants, and then they play the Commanders. You won't get the Panthers for the playoffs, but I just think it's maybe, I'm not saying go ahead and start Kirk Cousins, but I wouldn't write off London. I wouldn't write off Darnell Mooney necessarily. Obviously, Bijan has been fine regardless. But I think the panic on Kirk Cousins is gone a little too far. And then you also get a revenge game this week against the Vikings. I don't know how much that plays into it, but he should have a little extra incentive to play well, especially with all the hate this week. He's going back to the team he used to play for that didn't re-sign him. I just feel like there's a lot of incentive for Kirk Cousins to throw for like multiple touchdowns this week.
He's playing in Minnesota too, so he's gonna get like a warm welcome.
Yeah, Minnesota. Like they'll be nice. Yeah.
That's a good point. He could be a good DFS play, and he's probably cheap.
Yeah, maybe some Kirk to London stacks, Kirk London Mooney stacks. You can maybe even
plenty high score and bring back JJ. Could be a nice game to attack, actually.
Yeah, it really could actually, because both teams need to win.
I think a lot of people will be on that Bills game. Is that a night game though? That might be a night game. I forget. Actually, I don't think so.
1 o'clock.
Yeah. Bills are 4 o'clock. So yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Bryce Young. If you start Mac Jones in the playoffs, you're burning money. Maybe not. You never know. Well, but yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode of the Fantasy Sharp podcast. Good luck to everyone in the playoffs, and we will see you next week.
Good luck.